part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Worldwide, and you're listening to the Krypton Report.
Buddy, Tyler here, a little behind. As some of you may know, I've been real sick with the flu and still getting a little bit of a cough. But I wanted to continue my series on just actors that have played basically Superman and Supergirl. And this month, well, technically have been last month, was Tom Welling, Thomas Joseph Welling, born April 26, 1977. American actor, director, producer, model, best known for Clark Kent in that little show called Smallville. Maybe you've heard of it. He kind of stopped acting for a while until he reappeared in the third season of the Fox's Lucifer as Lieutenant Marcus Pierce. Excuse me, Marcus Pierce in the 2017 to 2018 season. He was a high school athlete, well-intended, worked in construction, and in 1988, he successfully modeled men's clothing for several popular brands. In 2000, he made a successful transition to television, and he has been nominated and received several awards for his roles as Clark Kent. Of course, duh. In 2001, he had a recurring role as Karate Rob Meltzer in the second season of the CBS legal drama Judging Amy. He has also been involved and behind the camera as an executive producer and director. His films include Cheaper by the Dozen and Cheaper by the Dozen 2, which I saw just because he was in it. The Fog, which I saw because he was in it. And The Choice, which is, if I remember right, it's the one I saw because Jania wanted to watch it, but it was a surprise he was in it, and it was like a very small role. He was born in Putnam Valley, New York. His family moved frequently, making stops in Wisconsin, Delaware, and Michigan. Welling attended Okemos High School in Michigan, where he started acting in plays, but then switched to sports. Welling played baseball and soccer, but his favorite sport is basketball. Interesting. Welling is one of 4 children with 2 older sisters, Rebecca and James, and a younger brother, Mark Welling, who's also an actor. I've met Tom twice, and he's a cool laid-back dude. He's definitely not what you'd feel of more of like the star kind of actor, just kind of like a chill guy who, in all fairness, seems to be more of someone who doesn't want the spotlight, and it's just kind of interesting. So, he was originally a construction worker, and Welling was discovered in 1998 at a party in Nantucket by a casting director, Jennifer Starr, who was there finding fresh faces for Tommy Hilfiger. Remember that guy who everything was red and white and blue? He was suggested he try modeling. Welling modeled for Luia Modeling Agency until 2000, when he relocated to Los Angeles. There he modeled for Tommy Hilfiger, Abercrombie & Fitch, and Calvin Klein, while starting to pursue an acting career. He got some smaller roles, of course, on Judging Amy, and it was on Judging Amy that he was talked into auditioning for Smallville. Some highlights for Tom while playing Clark Kent was he got to meet Christopher Reeve. He played Tom played Clark for the longest than any other actor in for a lot of superfans, a very interesting role because he was Clark Kent, but yet not Superman, but yet was Superman, but without the costume. It's this really weird conundrum of, the character as he evolved over the 10 seasons. He also won a Breakout Kids' Choice Award. Smallville, we could go on forever, but, we've covered that a lot, and it gets covered a lot, too. What's interesting is in 2003, he did meet with Brett Ratner about potentially playing Clark Kent in the Superman film, which eventually would be Superman Returns, and We all know how that came to be. I really want to find these, and I think I've seen them, that Alex Ross did sketches of what Tom Welling would look like as the Man of Steel. In 2009, Welling won again the Teen Choice Award for actor for action adventure for Smallville. In 2019, to fans' surprise, on the episode of Batwoman for the Crisis on Infinite Earth crossover, Welling appeared as his Clark Kent Smallville version, bringing closure to that story. Little behind the scenes. In this 9th season, Welling served as co-executive producer for the 9th and 10th seasons of Smallville. I mean, of course, taking his... He also produced the Hellcat series for the CW, which I think is still available to watch on the CW Seed. And he made his directorial debut in 2006 with the Smallville episode Fragile. He also directed Hydro, Apocalypse, Injustice, Absolute Justice, Patriot, and Booster. Welling likes to play golf, which is interesting. He has a very short resume. And there's nothing wrong with that. But his films include, like I said, Cheaper by the Dozen, The Fog, Cheaper by the Dozen 2, Parkland, Draft Day, and The Choice. Television was Judging Amy, 6 episodes, Special Unit 2 as male victim in 1 episode, Undeclared as Tom in 1 episode, and then Smallville, Lucifer, the Batwoman episode, and then 2020, a show called The Professionals for 10 episodes.
Where's Buffy?
And here's some Tom trivia. Graduated in 95 from high school. We're continuing our Tom Welling trivia. He played varsity soccer in high school, turned down the role of young Clark Kent twice before accepting it, received quote-unquote fair grades in high school, and opted not to go to college. Instead, he chose to become a construction worker while continuing to live with his parents. Worked in construction until he became a model. And this is probably the coolest trivia, Tom Welling, and had I read this and known this before when I got to meet him back in October, I would have asked him about this. After seeing a woman being mugged, he ran over and fought off her attackers. The woman looked at him and said, "Wow, you really are Superman," which he laughed. That is extremely dope. He auditioned for the role of Tag Jones on Friends, which eventually went to Eddie Cahill. That's interesting. Father's retired executive for General Motors. And his older brother, Mark Welling, he has 2 sisters, played the role of Joseph/Josephine in Some Like It Hot in high school. That I would like to have seen. He modeled alongside Ashton Kutcher. The 2 are good friends. Can do an awesome Gollum voice, and Keanu Reeves. His favorite movie is Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935. And he is also good friends with Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki of the show Supernatural, which he worked with Jensen in season 4. And I always wish there was an episode of Supernatural called The Real Ghostbusters, where they're like at a Sam and Dean convention, and I had wished that just there was one shot of Tom Welling as Sam and Justin Hartley as Dean, as fans, just showing up at the convention, just for fun. I thought that would have been awesome. Let's see. In baseball, Tom played shortstop and pitcher. In 2002, Tom had his honeymoon with his then wife, Jamie. Tom's favorite designer is Tom Ford. He got married in a tux designed by Tom Ford. And then in became engaged to girlfriend Sadie Club founder Jessica Rose Lee in 2008. They have been together since 2004. He's a distant cousin of Evan Peters. That's interesting. Is 2 years older than Brandon Routh, who starred in Superman Returns. And in 2019, January 5th, Tom and his fiancée, Jessica Rose Lee, gave birth to their first child, a boy, Thomas Wild Welling. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So yeah, that's kind of Tom Welling in a nutshell. We had to kind of split this up, but he is a lot of people's favorite Clark Kent Superman type character because he did the role for 10 years and probably has had a huge, not probably, he's had a massive impact on a whole generation of fans. He kept Superman and comic book TV alive at a time when everyone had forgotten it. So to Tom, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you both times, and I hope to get to chat with you more in the future. Hey, we're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find all of our information right there. If you want to help Krypton from exploding, join our $1 a month Patreon. That's right, for $1 a month, you can be a Patreon member and get exclusive extra bonus content of commentaries from our different DC movies, as well as conversations on anything that we feel like. Could be current events, could be current movies, usually it's current movies, or just a good old-fashioned chat. Check it out, patreon.com/Krypton Report.
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network. But also, if you love Superman and DC Comics, please listen to the following: The Last Sons of Krypton, Superman the Animated Podcast, Holy Batcast, The Geek of Steel, Digging for Kryptonite, The Aspiring Kryptonian, The All-Star Superfan Podcast, and Superboy the Legacy Podcast. Enjoy.